Alright guys, Smokey here. The next boss in the Maniforge Omega raid is Soul Hunters. This is the 5th boss in the raid. I think technically it's going to be 6th. So many people are progging for Actilis first just because of how easy it is to complete. This is obviously the optional boss that they propose at the start of the tier. It's still pretty necessary. The boost that dropped is so powerful that everyone's going to want to run into it. However, we progressed this on the 6th instead of the 5th, so let's run through the fight as normal and, yeah, kind of explain the damage breakdown of a Devastation Evoker. Now, the only problem I've got with this one specifically is I'm seeing it in a couple of places. So, just to let you know, I've done this a couple of times now. It's probably my lowest log of the whole raid so far. A couple of different reasons, and I'll explain why. I've got 2 of these logs. We actually re-cleared this for the first time the other day, and I did worse than my first log. Even though we killed it a little bit faster and my eye level's higher, I made some mistakes as I was doing the fight. The interesting thing about the Devastation Evoker is everyone for so long has been using the Flameshaper talent tree. We're actually starting to see a lot more people head over to the Scale Commander, and looking today, it's about 70% of people, all right? So when I first fought this boss, it was the other way around. There was a small amount of people using Scale Commander. I think I mentioned it in one of my previous videos that it's probably going to take over in a few weeks. When I went to re-clear this, it was probably split about 50-50. And now we're just seeing, like, you know, a dominant takeover of the Scale Commander talent tree for playing this fight, which I think makes sense, especially last tier. Like, Scale Commander had a really niche good point where, you know, 3 to 5 targets, or, you know, just the 3 target spread specifically was really, really powerful. Everything else you would use the Flameshaper for. We have a 3 target fight now. I think everyone was just so used to using Flameshaper, and it still was able to do good damage that we, you know, put the time and effort into still using it for everything. Now there's been some re-clears. People have had a chance to play around with the Scale Commander, and it's definitely proving to be the more superior. But it's not to say that you can't still log or, you know, do good damage with Flameshaper. There is a couple of Flameshaper logs in here. I mean, this guy's able to still do 9.3 million. There's a 9.2 million. There's a 9.1 million. You can still get good logs if you're still using the Flameshaper talent tree. And today, this fight is going to be talking through a Flameshaper run of the boss. I have not tried this boss out on Scale Commander. Like I said, on a re-clear, I probably will. And if I do that, I will also post up that video. So for now, we're just going to run through Flameshaper, things to watch out for, things to care about. And if you've seen one of these videos before, we're not going to look at every single button that's pressed of the Evoker. It's more just areas that we should consider or things to know before you start progressing this boss, or if you're still, you know, currently trying to progress it right now. So if we look at the damage breakdown for yeah, one of my kills here, as you would expect, predominantly everything we're going to be using is Engulf, but the you know, the spender outside of that is not going to be Disintegrates. It's going to be Pyres. All right, we have 3 targets. They are typically near each other. They will constantly move around, spread out, do whatever they need to do to cast their abilities. It is a little bit chaotic, I'm not going to lie, but the majority of your damage should come from your engulfs. I showed you that I did have a second log, which wasn't as good. That was because I was not engulfing in the right places. And so these are the things I want to kind of cover in the video today as well. But like I said, engulfs are huge. We are going for an AoE build here, so making sure we have pyres and firestorms at the target location where all of the 3 council people are going to be standing. Fire breath as and when I need to, obviously max ranking that when I want to use my engulfs, and then after that it's essence bombs. Everything else, living flames, eternity surge, and a couple of disintegrates, I'll explain when we use them in the fight. I will have a quick look at my talent tree. And like I said, I basically built this when I first started progging the boss, and this was kind of what everyone was leaning into. We're turning it into volatility. We want those pyres, which is our biggest spender, to potentially flare up again, you know, give extra pyres in there. Firestorm is a really good, handy AFK damage dealer to be having in the background, especially when it's procced with Snapfire. Really, really good. So we're going for an AoE build here, very similar to the Forge Weaver Araz style of yeah, talent tree that I had previously. My gear has changed a bit. I'm not going to talk about my gear specifically. Everyone's going to be at a different place with that. But it's an AoE build that we're looking at. So the fight itself, it's chaotic. I loved it. I'm not going to lie. This is my funnest boss of the tier. It was really great. It's good for the Evoker. We can start doing some really good damage really early. And I'm just going to recommend that you keep your target on Dark Sorrow as much as possible. Dark Sorrow has more health than the other two of the bosses. And yeah, and you're going to want to bring Dark Sorrow down as a raid quicker than the other two as well. So you're predominantly going to be targeting Dark Sorrow, but obviously everything else is going to be, you know, going off and hitting the other two bosses. You'll see at the start, we're already up to like a 34 mil damage. I'm engulfing Max Rank, Fire Breath, Dragon Rage, Shattering Star, dropping everything on there. And I am just triggering my Essence Bombs, and I'm just going to be piling in a load of pyres now, okay? Pyre. Whilst I'm still in my Dragon Rage and I still have my Inner Flame up, I'm triggering a couple more Essence Bombs with a double Azure Strike. You might or may not want to do that, but Essence Bomb has a really big impact on here. So, yeah, we're standing at the front, targeting Dark Sorrow. Hopefully, your tanks understand the assignment and will bring all of these mobs as close together as possible. At the start, Dark Sorrow for me was like really far away, or it wasn't near the mobs, so I wouldn't be actually catching my engulfs on all of the bosses there. But it's something which will just, you know, like you said, fix over time. Casting a Firestorm in there just to make sure that whilst they're all standing in the circle, I managed to, you know, basically hit all three with that. One interesting thing to know is I forget what it's called, but these little soaks pop out, these little green soaks. It was a big problem for us when progressing. I always just popped hover. I knew to go and focus my time on them. I even had a weak core specifically for that called Soaking Greens. Anyone can soak them. It's really easy to do. And yeah, with hover available and being able to cast, you should take that amongst yourself to you know, take it upon yourself to go and get those green soaks when you can. I think it's fertility or something. That's the name of it. So what you'll notice here is outside this massive opener window, one of the mods will start to move. That was Dust Blaze, and you're going to want to try and track Dust Blaze, because where that lands is where you're going to be standing for the next 5 to 10 seconds. So they're all standing in a big pile. Dust Blaze moves. The tanks will run themselves over to Dust Blaze, so I'm trying to position myself next to where Dust Blaze is going to be. The problem is you have these blue floor circles, and so you always try and move out of the way. If you wanted to prioritize what you want to avoid, the green lines that spawn on the floor any second, wait for it, these green lines you cannot stand on. Full stop, you will die. We had a lot of deaths to that. If you stand within these blue circles, you don't die. You just get a basically, yeah, a big damage soak that needs to be healed off you. All right, so all we need to do, avoid the greens. Don't worry if you stand in the blues. I was probably a little bit overcautious here. I still didn't want to stand in the blues, and yeah, got myself out of there. Now, what you'll notice is all of these mobs are stacked on top of each other again, which is great for us. Okay, the whole point of this fight is to make sure that we can always hit our engulfs at max rank Fire Breath when all three targets are standing together. Okay, on top of that, you don't want to be holding engulfs either, as always. So you're going to get familiar with where they're starting to move and how you want to position yourself. You know, it's going to be different every fight, don't get me wrong, but you're going to sit there and say, okay, I need to move and make sure that I got my Fire Breath covering these things. Also with your Firestorms as well, you just want to make sure that you're kind of targeting exactly where these mobs are going to be standing for the next like 5-10 seconds. Now, I'm very conscious of trying to extend my Dragon Rage as much as possible. And that's really handy because for the first 20% of all of this boss's health, you can be in a Dragon Rage window. To extend that, I need to hit my Fire Breath at these targets, and that would just extend my Dragon Rage. The problem I've got is my Dragon Rage was about to fall off. And the reason it was falling off is because I quickly got out of the way of that blue circle. I'm going to go back a tiny bit here. I move out the way. I could have been casting my Fire Breath right now, and I have 4 seconds to do it. But instead, I'm moving, boom. I've only got 2 seconds now to cast my Fire Breath. So what I actually do is I cast my Fire Breath not on max rank, but one below max rank. Which means although my Dragon Rage got extended, my engulfs are not as effective. like a 25% not as effective. And during a Dragon Rage window, at like the very beginning, it's really important to hit this opener cleanly. This is a big loss of DPS. It might not seem like much, but this is a huge loss in DPS for me to not hit those in goal. So it's really important to make sure you do that. Now, you'll see here, Bloodwrath just jumped towards me. People are going to get soaked in, and you're going to have the next mechanic, which is a line soak that everyone needs to go towards. I haven't really spoken about the mechanics yet, but the mechanics are going to be a big changer on how you play this boss. Hopefully you're not picked to do the Dispel Soak. As an Evoker, it is relatively annoying when you have to soak something on the far side of the room and the bosses are on the other side. You can't put the bosses where you want. The bosses are where they're going to be, and that's it. So hopefully you don't get picked for this mechanic. It wouldn't be smart for an Evoker to be picked for this mechanic. So yeah, we hopefully get to avoid that, but you may get it from time to time. And casting and moving is great with hover, so if you do, great. And then with these line soaks, you're going to have some people calling immunities, and you're going to have some people soaking it. It's I was on the second soak, and what you'll also notice is once you'll get sucked in for this green soak here, everyone's slowed. You have this 4-second debuff, it slows you down. Everyone can't really move. Luckily, by the time the second soak comes out, the debuff is removed. I can walk at a relatively good speed, so you're always able to hit this, hit your soak in time. So if you go on number 2, that would be awesome, or 3, you know, if you really wanted to. But the first one, you're going to be near the boss, regardless. Now, again, I have these green soak mechanics coming up. I think we are really good candidates to take these, to be honest with you, because if we're not doing dispels, we should be able to do these mechanics. Okay, this increases the damage that you take. All right, and if you have the Dispel, which needs to be out-healed as well, it's just a bad combination. So anyone doing the Dispel shouldn't pick these up, which means it's either melee or the rest of range. We actually had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We had like 9 range players doing this. So, you know, in our comp, like, I was one of the only ranged people that could actually go and pick this up freely. So I made it like my goal to always pick up these, always to go and pick up these green soaks. I didn't get on there, but that's fine. Other people were able to get it quickly. So I had a Snapfire proc to put my Firestorm down. I'm just casting pyres when I can. Again, another Snapfire proc. And what you'll see is Duskblaze has moved to the other side of the room. Green lines come out, and everyone starts moving over towards where Duskblaze was. So I'm going to run over there. Like I said, as long as I don't stand in the green lines, I should be fine. Unfortunately, Dark Sorrow is still going to be doing moves, so it's not over there in time. There's going to be a couple of places where I would love to have cast my Fire Breath, but Dark Sorrow isn't stacked up on top of the mobs, and that's a big loss. It's a big loss indeed. Yeah, so they're all stacked together, which is great. I should probably be targeting Dark Sorrow right now, but I didn't. I cast Engulf, and unfortunately, I cast Engulf when Bloodwrath was jumping away. I then switched my target to Dark Sorrow and cast my second Engulf, but by this point, all 3 mobs aren't together. So if I could have pre-positioned a little bit earlier, like now, start casting Fire Breath here, and again, it depends if it's available, it depends if it's possible. All these things add up. I could have cast a Fire Breath, max rank with double Engulf, and it hit all 3 of the targets. This is literally the make or break of the whole log. Right? So I got the greens coming up again. Make sure I got hover. You always want to cast a max rank Fire Breath when you got the engulfs, but outside of that, you want to hit a single rank Fire Breath. We're still top of the leaderboards on damage right now, right? 12.5 million DPS a second over 1.5 minutes is really good. Making sure I grab one of those lines, but not getting in the soak that I don't need to. But just be conscious of, making sure that you're getting your Fire Breaths right. And obviously, as the Evoker is very positional, and it's all to do with the orientation, alternating where you're standing, just so you can catch a Fire Breath and hit all targets, is going to be really important and really valuable. So here's the first intermission. Like I said, the fight is kind of crazy. It's pretty much just out on repeat with the intermissions that come in. This is a place where we actually do lose DPS, and where I think a scale commander could be really valuable. So at this stage in the intermission, we're going to spread out, and we're going to soak some orbs that come into the center. For us, right now, this turns into a single target fight. Okay? Turns into a single target fight, and single target from 3 targets is a big DPS loss. I'm going to go. When I first started doing this, I wasn't really doing much. I was just focusing on soaking the orbs, and then I started getting good. Time Spiral, Hover, and actually just trying to get a single target rotation out on this dust blaze in the center. But again, we're not doing anything crazy here. We're not boosting up our damage per second. Really, we're just trying to keep ourselves alive, do the mechanics, and get a little bit of DPS out as we can. If it was Scale Commander, the other two ads are in the air. I'm pretty sure that if we're in the right position, we can target them and still get a 2-target cleave. That's why I think it'll be really powerful to have. Although the intermission is only for like 30 seconds, yeah, it's a good thing to know. So, you'll notice I have all my cooldowns available, okay? I held on to my Dragon Rage for the last 10-15 seconds of the intermission. I'm not going to waste my Dragon Rage on a single target, but I want to hold my Dragon Rage for when they all land again. Now, all three of these targets aren't exactly soaked together right now, and so I cast a Dragon Rage, I rotate myself in line where I can hit all three of these with a Fire Breath, and I was always a bit complacent with when I did this. Right now, I should probably cast my Gulfs on Bloodwrath because he's in the middle. But the reality is it's probably not going to hit Duskblaze and Darksorrow because they're so far away. I still went for it. Sometimes I held it to see if they'd get together quickly, and they might not. But I think it's a big difference if you can get them together. So they start to move around now after they cast in a couple of moves. You'll notice I picked up one of the green soaks, just standing right next to me. I was just in a good spot for it. And like we said, all of the mobs will eventually sort of line up together, making sure my Firestorm is positioned in between all three of them. I need to get over now to where all of the mobs are. They are in the far side of the room, but there's a lot of green lines going off. I want to avoid all of those. There's downtime here, there's downtime here. I cast my my pyres because I can't reach them. So yeah, that's kind of it on repeat. There was a lot going on at the start, and I was trying to break down every single mechanic and what we can do there. But after you've done the first one, the rest is pretty much the same. A good thing to line up here is if you have got a soak, it's really good to use Zephyr. I always try and use Zephyr if I could line it up right on our soak mechanic, so anyone that was near me would also get a damage reduction, which is useful. Making sure everyone's in these lines is not as easy as it seems. People are always doing stuff, or they're busy with the spells, etc. So making sure you are 100% in them is pretty crucial. But again, they're all lined up nicely, which is awesome. Let me make sure I get my pyres and Firestorms in the right place. So again, right, I have Fire Breath loading up, but Darksorrow isn't over there, right? We're waiting for him to finish his cast, got Spirit Bomb on Nerf. He finishes his Spirit Bomb, and then he came over. So you'll see that I actually held my Fire Breath over a little bit longer just because I was waiting for Darksorrow to finish his cast and catch up with the mobs. Really handy to just look at these things and understand what you're doing and why you're doing it early. So I cast the max rank Fire Breath, I cast my Engulf, and then I go into Pyres and Firestorms. Okay, but again, the targets move around again, and so you're constantly battling this. Hey, I want to line up everything. You'll see here that Soak comes in. We had 2 or 3 people in here. We managed to get 4 in the last second. There's also the big green Soaks that are coming up now. I'm right next to one. I need to make sure I grab it. And luckily, all the mobs are still standing next to each other. I accidentally picked up a Dispel here. Now, accidentally picking up a Dispel can be a little bit annoying. I'm not going to lie. My priority at this point isn't to do damage on the boss. My priority is to make sure the person who's supposed to have the Dispel gets the Dispel back, all right? Now, luckily, it was the intermission. There wasn't actually anything to Dispel or to stand on, but it does throw you off from time to time. So making sure the people who are doing the Dispels nail down their mechanics is really, really vital for your progression as a guild. Again, single target rotation here. There's not really much I can do. If Scale Commander was here, great. You know, maybe I could target the boss. I can see it floating around in the top right corner of my screen. That would be awesome. But there's no guarantee with it. No guarantee with it. So we have, 2 intermissions down, and we're on to the final one coming up soon. You'll see Darksorrow is basically a little bit higher than the rest. That's intentional. That's understandable. Sorry, I got followers popping up and subscribers. Apologies for that. You'll find that the last intermission is actually Darksorrow on its own, and so you'll end up catching up with DPS on that point anyway. Like I said, I'm trying to position myself. I catch all my Fire Breaths and Engulfs on all 3 targets. Trying to pyre as much as I can, but right now, unfortunately, the ads are separate from each other. I get into my Soak. I cast a Zephyr. I see those green those green individual Soaks come up, but they've all been taken, which is good. Firestorm on top of all 3 of these mobs, and I follow the I follow the ad that I follow the boss as it moves over. Try not to waste any of my fire breaths and my engulfs. So listen, like I said, I thought I did pretty well with this fight. I was really surprised I only got 60% on the damage meters. But with Scale Commander taking over, I'm also kind of not surprised by that. I do think and would recommend trying to go back to the Scale Commander rotation. I did actually try it out on... Ooh, I forget which boss it was. I think it was Lumathar, but I'm so out of sync with the Scale Commander rotation. I think it's actually easier. I just forgot how to play it and what I was proccing specifically. For example, the Commander Squadron, where we summon like 2 additional evokers to do damage or disintegrate beams. I forgot how to trigger that with Deep Breath, like things like that. I wasn't very good at it, so I need a bit of practice. So the last intermission of the fight, again, if you had the Scale Commander, you could probably be attacking all 3 of these bosses at the same time, but we didn't. Dark Sorrow is going to jump around. The whole raid is going to move. This is going to take some practice. Just make sure that you're moving with everyone. Hovers would be great here if you've got Time Spiral, cast it. And the problem with the end of the fight is we're sitting on like 7, maybe 8 mil before this. It now goes into single target, and you're probably going to want to kill off Dark Sorrow at some point in the next couple of seconds, because it's about to go kind of chaotic with all of the all of the bosses doing all of their abilities all of the time. All right, so we kill off Dark Sorrow, and as you'll notice, none of the bosses are on top of each other. They're all separate. They're all over the place. We're trying to take in soaks and catch random things, but it just turns into a bit of a single target fight for us at the very end, just because, like I said, we were a little bit slow to kill these things. Dustblade's coming into the middle. I actually think I die here in the last second as well because I got sucked into the middle of it. But GG's, there is a kill. So, I think it was a cool fight. I think it's a very fun fight for the Evoker. You do some really crazy damage, but you are hindered by some of the single target parts of all the intermissions and the end of the fight if you drag it on for too long. If you sped the fight up, you would definitely have a higher log. I'm going to recommend you jump into Scale Commander and try this out Scale Commander. If you haven't started progressing it yet, I also think that's going to be really valuable for you guys to get decent logs as well. It's something I'll be doing on my next log, on my next progression. So yeah, give it a go. All right, guys, cheers for that. Thanks for watching, and good luck.